He's one of Taylor Swift's biggest fans. He played an incredible game all season long, and he unexpectedly, potentially for a lot of fans, lost at the final tribal council. But joining me now is runner-up of Survivor Season 46, Charlie. Charlie, how are you? I'm so excited to get to speak with you.
Man, I'm good. I'm good. I'm loving the energy. It's waking me up because I am a little bit tired, to be honest. It's been just a roller coaster of a whole spring and then a crazy night last night, watching it all back and it's a mix of emotions. It's a whole emotional cocktail, but I'm very proud of my game and loved our season. Thought it was so fun to watch. But tough not to pull it out and get so close. So a lot of things
Yeah,
at once.
yeah, absolutely. Well, your social game was really strong, which I think is one of the reasons that got you so far, but you also kind of proved to be a competition beast of sorts. So, did you expect to excel in both of those things, or kind of what was your plan going into filming of the show?
Um, you know, I I was pretty, I try to be, confident but not cocky. And I tried to embody that in the game as well. But in Survivor, you never know quite how you're gonna do. Just you don't know what your tribe dynamics are gonna be, who's gonna be on your tribe, how people are gonna react to different events. So I always just try to really stay on my toes and just put myself in the best position possible, whether that's socially, strategically, or physically. And just give it my all in every respect. But no, it was super fun winning those back-to-back immunities. I think honestly, my biggest challenge strength is just endurance challenges. I'm not very good at puzzles, as you can see. From like sort of the end game challenges, Maria smoked me in that dolphin puzzle, and then I didn't do that well in the last puzzle challenge. So, it was really fun to win, two immunities, the family reward. Those were like really electric moments to watch back with my family and friends. So, I mean, it was awesome. The whole game, really grateful for the
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Now, you touched on kind of positioning yourself well throughout the game. So, something I was really curious watching the finale last night is kind of your decision to convince Ben to take you to final three instead of having to do fire. Now,
Yeah.
knowing the results, now knowing how things obviously panned out, do you regret that decision? Do you feel like you should have done fire, or kind of what's your take on that?
So I'll give my reasoning for why I did that in the moment. So number one, it's a 26-day game, right? I thought I'd played a really strong 26-day game, and it was emblematic of that to have a strong enough bond with my one of my very, very early day one alliances in Ben to have him take me into the final three. So that was my first reason. Second reason is I really thought it was an opportunity to send myself out in the good graces of the loser of fire making. I was
Mm,
helping Kenzie and Liz very heavily in how to make fire. I think I could have beaten either of them pretty handily, especially watching that fire making challenge. Um, and I do think that worked a lot with Liz. I did end up getting her vote, so I don't necessarily regret it that way. I saw it as a chance to lock down a jury vote, and I didn't think it was worth the risk in terms of the benefit it would give me with the jury. Maybe that was the wrong calculus, and I should have. But that's where my head was at in the game. Maybe they really wanted to see me step up and make a really flashy move.
hmm
A lot of my game was, a really strong behind the scenes game where I was pulling a lot of strings, but it wasn't crazy flashy in terms of, in front of the jury. But I had put a lot of value on being certainly able to explain my game.
mm.
Um, I would have felt awful if I didn't get a chance to do that and went out in fire making.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of the votes, so the final vote came down to 5-3, which was a major runner-up. You lost to Kinsey, unfortunately for you. But I think what's really taking social media by storm last night and this morning is the fact that Maria voted for Kinsey and then her explanation as to why. So I'm kind of curious. It may be kind of hard for you to think on, but what was your immediate kind of emotion or feeling in the moment when she did say that she voted for Kinsey and why? And then has that feeling changed today at all?
Well, really, I mean, that it culminated in when Jeff's asking the questions, but it was really before then. Jeff announces the winner, and I know I got three votes. I don't know who yet. But everyone runs over from the jury, congratulating Kenzie. And then, people are trickling up to me, and, Hunter says, hey, Charlie, I voted for you, like, good game. Soda comes over, Charlie, I voted for you, like giving me a big hug. Liz comes over to me saying, I voted for you. That's really when it first hit me. I was like,
Mm,
dang. And Maria was completely avoiding my gaze, like not coming up to me at all, didn't give me any sort of hug after the votes were announced. And that was just really shocking and devastating. And I was like, there's a little bit of time before the after show, but I was just like, I felt so out of it. I was barely like present in the moment. And then just sort of had to lock back into the after show. But at least, I at least sort of knew, had a few moments to try to collect my thoughts. And I stand by everything I said in the after show about the jury's decision. So much respect for Kinsey's game. Thought she played a great game. Incredible social player. Very deserving. But for me personally, it was really devastating to get that close and have what seems to be, obviously any juror could have flipped it. So, and I don't want any juror to get any sort of, weird, crazy hate or anything like that.
yeah.
Maria, anyone. But yeah, it was really tough to process all that in the moment for sure.
Yeah, that speaks to your character a lot, I feel like. So I appreciate you saying all of that. Now, what would you say? You touched on this a little bit in the finale at Final Tribal. What would you kind of say was your biggest game move? But maybe how did that make you a standout player?
Honestly, so again, I didn't play a super flashy game, but I was very deliberate with the timing of when people went home and creating an environment where I wasn't the biggest threat available to get out. So that really started, and it was all very deliberate, starting from the Hunter vote to the Tiff vote to the Venus vote, and ultimately executing my game plan of, at the Venus vote, it was really hard. I was trying to put together an alliance of four, like I talked about at Final Tribal, that
Hmm.
the 100% mission of that Final Four alliance was to take out Q and Maria at 6 and 5, which is exactly what
Mm,
happened. And it was a hard sell at 7 because I had to say, this is what our mission is, but we're not doing it right now. We are saving
mm,
it because I knew for me, if we voted out Q at 7 and then Maria won immunity, which she did end up winning immunity, I would probably be the next best target to go for. And I was targeted at 6. It just wasn't close. So I think my threat level, my absolute threat level was higher than people think in the game. But my relative threat level is what I worked on, making sure there were people in front of me going out first. So really just that sort of cohesive strategy. And I explained it in more detail than they showed at Final Tribal Council, I think is what
sure.
earned me the votes I got. And really distinguish, I think I dispelled any thoughts that, like, I was just, Maria's, jester or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone on the jury thought that by the end of Final Tribal.
Yeah, I would say that's super fair. Now, something else that fans seem to have a lot of thoughts on Twitter last night and this morning was kind of the after show and how it really is challenging for maybe the people that don't win because there's, so many emotions in that moment. You don't really get time to process it. What are kind of your thoughts on the after show? Was that something that you wish maybe you would have had more time and they done the live finale, or what should they do kind of moving forward, do you think?
So I think there's pros and cons. I know there's a lot of sort of groundswell, against the after show. And it is very hard as someone who lost the game, to go and collect yourself. At the same, I am proud of myself for sort of how I composed myself and handled myself in the after
Hmm.
show. Um, but I think there is something to be said, and I know part of their reasoning for it is to, like, capture the rawness of the emotion, and they definitely did that. I couldn't tell you, like, if there was no after show and instead just a live reunion today, who knows what my answer would have been. And I also do put a premium on capturing people's thoughts and reasoning in the actual moment.
Mm,
Because I think the further out you get from the game, the more outside factors influence what you're saying about your game. So
yeah.
I really appreciate having that captured and sort of indelible and being like, kind of like, no, like, this is what happened. Like, you know, rather than, if we got this, almost a year later,
Yeah.
people have seen the show, they've seen fan responses, they're going to have that influencing their thoughts. So the after show is, I think, a little bit more of a pure capture of what happened, even if it is really tough on the losing finalists and even the
Yeah,
winner. It's a lot to process for the winner too. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, final question, just really quick, yes or no? Would you return and play again?
yes.
Absolutely. Well, Charlie, we'd love to see you on the show again. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Congrats on an incredible season. And also, I'm just noticing this nice Ben shirt. That's awesome.
Right. And Cats, man.
Well, thank you so much, Charlie. Best of luck to whatever's next for you.
Yes, thank you so much. This was fun.